Coming up today on Good Morning BU.
Colleges across the country unite against Trump. Our correspondent is live from Harvard with the latest.
And a federal judge rules an order to withhold federal funds from sanctuary jurisdictions as unconstitutional.
After performing at the Frozen Four, we sit down with the leader of BU Pep Band's flute section to hear all about it.
And our sports correspondent gives the rundown on the BU women's lightweight rowing team.
Looking to jump into the spring weather? Get the details on Boston's Japan Festival with our arts and entertainment correspondent.
Live from Studio West in the College of Communication, Good Morning BU starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Good Morning BU. I'm Sydney Toff.
And I'm Sophia Falbo. Here are today's top stories. A senior Russian general was killed in a car bombing this morning in Moscow. This happened moments before President Donald Trump's special envoy met with President Vladimir Putin. Russia's investigative committee confirmed General Yaroslav Moskalik's death, saying that the blast was caused by an improvised explosive device packed with shrapnel. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack, and Russian authorities have launched a criminal inquiry into his death. Moskalik is the latest pro-Kremlin figure believed to have been targeted by Ukrainians inside Russia.
Moving eastward, the Chinese government denied on Thursday suggestions of any active negotiations with Trump regarding the ongoing trade war between the United States and China. These comments come after Trump said on Tuesday that the tariff rate would come down, quote, substantially from the current 145%. Companies such as PepsiCo, Chipotle, and Procter & Gamble have stated they cut their profit forecast for the year, an indication that consumers are spending less.
After almost 30 years as a U.S. Senator, Dick Durbin of Illinois recently announced that he would not be running for re-election in 2026. Durbin gracefully stepped down from his future as the Democratic whip on Wednesday, saying he wanted to leave while he could, quote, still walk out of the door.
The decision of whether to run for re-election has not been easy. I truly love the job of being United States Senator, but in my heart, I know it's time to pass the torch. So I'm announcing today that I will not be seeking re-election at the end of my term.
Durbin's leave will initiate a leadership scramble that likely won't be resolved until after next year's Democratic midterm elections. In Durbin's absence, Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey will be the oldest Democratic senator up for re-election in 2026 at 78 years old.
Over 150 universities and college presidents co-signed a letter on Tuesday condemning the Trump administration's recent efforts to dictate the policies of prior higher education in exchange for federal funding. Boston University's president Melissa Gilliam was one of the signees. The government has paused billions of dollars in federal grants to the nation's most prestigious universities in an effort to get the institutions to penalize student protesters. The letter's signers included all the Ivy League colleges minus Dartmouth. The pause in funding is part of the administration's efforts to, quote, root out anti-Semitism on college campuses. The letter crafted by the American Association of College and University states that, quote, we speak with one voice against the unprecedented government overreach and political interference now endangering American higher education. Harvard was also one of the signees. The letter comes after Harvard refused to comply with the Trump administration's demands, which included auditing classes, faculty, and students. Our correspondent Joanna Malves is live from Harvard University with the updates.
Thanks, Sydney. Harvard's President Alan Gerber is suing the Trump administration over this $2 billion funding freeze. Now, here at Harvard's campus, students are concerned over what the future of research could look like under this freeze. The Trump administration's list of demands for this freeze include cracking down on pro-Palestinian protests, DEI initiatives, and anti-Semitism. While Harvard hasn't released an official list of what research may be affected by this freeze, according to Boston.com, they say that that research that may be affected, about 50% of research from its School of Public Health is funded by federal grants. And in an interview with NBC last Wednesday, Harvard's President Gerber had doubled down on not giving in to the Trump administration's demands. For Good Morning BU, I'm Joanna Malvis, and back to the desk.
Thanks, Joanna. Moving to the White House, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared a detailed military plan against the Houthis in Yemen on a second Signal group chat that included his wife and brother. The chat was created during Hegseth's confirmation hearing in an effort to communicate after he was confirmed.
What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning.
His messages surfaced as some of Hegseth's closest advisors have begun questioning his judgment, including his former press secretary and 3 former senior officials that Hegseth fired last week. His chief of staff also left the agency yesterday. The chat is under investigation by the Defense Department's Inspector General.
A Washington Post investigation found sensitive documents, including White House floor plans, were leaked under the Biden administration. A Google Drive folder containing these confidential documents was improperly shared with the entire staff of the General Service Administration due to incorrect settings. The leak began in 2021 and was later noticed by the GSA's IT team as part of a routine audit. The agency's IT team is still investigating the leak, and a cybersecurity report was also filed.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced on Tuesday plans to make major cuts to the State Department via a draft executive order. The Trump administration plans to close non-essential embassies and consulates in sub-Saharan Africa and consolidating regional bureaus into 4 regions. Offices focusing on climate change, women's issues, human rights, migration, and criminal justice are also set to be terminated. Rubio has dismissed the report of just being, quote, fake news. As the Trump administration continues to make budget cuts across federal agencies, researchers are worried how this will impact them. Our politics correspondent Fiona Bright-Holton got exclusive access to a Boston research institution.
It's not, but it would be good timing.
The Trump administration has proposed deep cuts to funding for the National Institute of Health, putting research labs at nationwide risk. ALS Therapy Development Institute, the world's largest nonprofit drug discovery lab for the condition, could be impacted. ALS is a fatal, progressive, neurodegenerative disease with no test, treatment, or cure. Carol Hamilton, Senior Vice President of Development at ALS TDI, said the lab works with the NIH and the CDC to understand risk factors for ALS. She said losing this funding would be devastating.
This is going to slow down ALS research, possibly for a generation of patients. We have people being diagnosed today who are not being offered the same hope, the same level of participation that people had before them.
Hamilton said the lab would survive, but with consequences.
Now, could the work continue without this federal funding? It would require making our incredible researchers in this country fundraisers. We want them doing research, not fundraising.
I'm here in front of a research center on campus. Carol Hamilton has said ALS TDI is unsure if it is receiving its next grant payment, but its scientists are hopeful in continuing their work. For Good Morning BU, I'm Fiona Bright-Holton.
Thanks, Fiona. Now moving abroad, Pope Francis, the first Latin American pope who had held the position for the last 13 years, died on Monday after a series of health problems. His last public appearance was on Easter Sunday, in which he greeted over 50,000 people for the first time since his month-long hospitalization in February. Nations around the world have declared mourning periods, with Argentina, Francis's birthplace, observing 7 days. Francis will lie in state at St. Peter's Basilica until his funeral on Saturday, beginning at 4 a.m. Boston time. Now, stay with us after this break to hear an update on Karen Reed's retrial and what's coming to the Museum of Fine Arts this summer.
Be right there. Wait. Use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel. Then make sure it's cool.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Brushed up on some tips before we left. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame.
En esta casa, los hombres no lloran.
You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back. Dipping briefly back into national news, a federal judge in San Francisco ruled Trump's order to withhold federal funds from sanctuary jurisdictions as unconstitutional. Judge William H. Orrick said that the order violates the Fifth Amendment on the grounds of due process. He said the mandate also demonstrates an excess of federal power over the states, breaching the 10th Amendment. If this order is put in place, it would bring budget concerns and limit state freedom. Just last month, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu testified before Congress on Boston's status as a sanctuary city. Judge Orrick has ordered a written notice from Trump confirming that federal agencies won't freeze any funding for sanctuary cities.
On the topic of federal rulings, the Trump administration is appealing a judge's decision to move Tufts University student Ramesa Ozturk to Vermont. Ozturk was detained outside her apartment in Somerville and accused of being a terrorist sympathizer after co-writing and publishing an op-ed criticizing Israel in Tufts student newspaper. The Trump administration moved Ozturk to Louisiana and now wants to keep her case in the state's conservative court. Senator Ed Markey, along with 2 other Massachusetts officials, visited Ozturk earlier this week.
They would not allow her to call her lawyer. They would not allow her to understand what her rights were. She actually thought that she was being abducted.
Lawmakers are demanding her release, calling her detention unjust and unconstitutional.
In an update to the Karen Read retrial, new evidence and testimonies were presented in court this week. Some of the new testimonies came from family and friends of both Read and her former boyfriend, John O'Keefe. O'Keefe's friend Mike Camerano testified that he was with Read and O'Keefe at a bar in Canton just hours before O'Keefe was found dead in the snow. Camerano said that Read was very jealous of other women being around O'Keefe. Carrie Roberts, a former friend of Read's, also testified and told the court that she was with Read and O'Keefe's friend, Jennifer McCabe, when they found O'Keefe dead. Prosecutors told Judge Beverly J. Canone that they had heart rate evidence from McCabe's watch from the night O'Keefe died in case the defense wanted to link her to a murder conspiracy.
Staying in Boston, the Museum of Fine Arts is closing the Benin Kingdom Gallery this Monday to give 29 of its artifacts back to its donor. The artifacts, known as Benin bronzes, were looted during a British raid in 1897 in present-day Nigeria. The Benin bronzes are already in museums across the U.S. and Europe. The MFA tried to negotiate to transfer ownership to Nigeria and have the Benin bronzes returned there. But donor Robert Owen Lehman withdrew his donation, which prompted the museum to return the artifacts to him. 5 of the Benin bronzes the museum owns will still be on display in the Art of Africa Gallery starting in June.
Now, before we take a break, let's hear about this weekend's weather from our weather correspondent, Addison Cummings. Will the sun be sticking around at all, Addie?
Thanks, Sophia. Well, Boston, it looks like the sunshine's taking the weekend off. Today's the brightest day, mostly cloudy, but warm with a high near 74 degrees. A great day for the walk on the Esplanade. Saturday brings on and off rain and a cooler high of 66 degrees. So if you've got weekend plans, maybe keep the rain jacket close and your expectations flexible. Sunday, even chillier, with light rain and a high of just 58 degrees. Honestly, it's the perfect weather to hunker down with your final essay and a coffee. So if you're gearing up for the last week of classes and diving into finals prep, Mother Nature's basically giving you permission to stay inside and focus. Hang in there, Terriers. Summer's almost in sight. We only have a couple more weekends left. Are there any spots that you guys want to check out before we graduate?
Hoping to do some touristy stuff, maybe in Beacon Hill, of course, Newbury Street, the Seaport, just anything outdoors to enjoy the weather.
Yeah, there's a lot of touristy stuff that I want to still do that I haven't done yet, but 4 years is almost coming to an end in a few weeks, so got to make time for it.
What about you, Addie? Anything fun planned?
Well, I just booked a duck tour for my family coming for graduation. I'm very excited about it.
That sounds like a lot of fun. You'll have to keep us updated.
Yeah, that'll definitely be fun. Now, stick around with us after this break to hear GMBU's first live performance from a member of the Boston University Pep Band.
I wonder if you know that I want the best for you. I know you're going through a lot. I wonder if you know that the big homie needs help too. That you can't just rebound from everything. I know you've been grinding.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
But how long will you fight solo? I wonder if you know that we can get help. I wonder why we waited so long. I'm not wondering anymore. Love, your mind. Let's see how far we can go.
Welcome back. If you've ever been to any BU hockey game, there's no denying that one of the most fun parts is hearing the BU Pep Band play to cheer on our Terriers. Their website says they have a song list of more than 100 classic and pop songs, and they help keep the energy up for the student section. They even traveled with the hockey team to St. Louis a few weeks ago for the Frozen Four. We are so lucky to have live in the studio with us this morning the leader of the Pep Band flute section, Jess Tang.
Hi, Jess. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, so are we. So like Sydney was just saying, your recent trip to St. Louis, what was your time and experience like there?
One of the coolest things about being in the Pep Band is that when our teams do well, we get to travel with them to playoffs. So I was just in St. Louis a few weeks ago with our men's ice hockey team for the Frozen Four. It was a lot of fun getting to explore a new city with my bandmates, and we're really thankful for a great season.
That sounds great. Now, I'm wondering, how long have you been in the BU Pep Band, and what made you even join in the first place?
Yeah, the first time I heard the BU Pep Band was actually during orientation before my freshman year. I remember they were performing on stage, they were playing pop songs, they were dancing, and it looked like a lot of fun, so I knew I wanted to be a part of that. So that was my freshman year, and I'm a junior now, so it's been 3 years.
Wow, that's great. And I know it must be so much with all these practices and performances. What's it like balancing that with all of your classwork and your schoolwork, everything?
That's a great question. So our band is actually, it's over 100 people, so not all of us are at every single game. We're actually split in two. So there's a red band and a white band, so we split the games up. So what I'll see on my calendar is like red band's gonna be at men's ice hockey this weekend and white band will be at women's basketball. So it ends up being okay, but it definitely gets busy when all four teams are in the peaks of their season. But being in the band is something I enjoy. I get to go and hang out with my friends and watch sports, so it's a fun activity, not a chore.
Yeah, that sounds great. Now, the last thing I'm really curious to know is, what is your favorite part of being in the BU Pep Band?
I love being in the band because it keeps me involved in the community. Like I said, we're at the sports games for our basketball and hockey teams, but it's not just at BU. It's also all around Boston. We played at the Marathon earlier this week, and I think we're doing a pregame for the Red Sox in a few days, so that should be exciting.
That sounds so exciting. Yeah. I see you have your flute here with us. I heard from you a little bit earlier. You're going to be playing us a little song. Yes. What do you have in store?
I'll be playing Shipping Up to Boston. It's a BU Pep Band classic. We play it at pretty much every single game, and the crowd really likes it, so I hope you guys enjoy it too.
Yes, I'm sure we will. Take it away. seriously so talented.
Thank you, Sophia. I appreciate it.
Stay tuned to hear from our sports correspondent about the BU lightweight rowing team after this short break.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
Welcome back. The lightweight rowing team has already made program history twice this season. They earned their highest collegiate placement at the head of the Charles and won the Varsity 8 at the Connect Cup. Now, the Terriers look to add another first to their belt, a championship win. Our sports correspondent Alexa Podolsky spoke to the team ahead of their most important race of the season.
Focus on that lower core when you're at the pause, right? What did it take to pivot?
It's lucky season 13 for BU's lightweight rowing. They finished their last race on the Charles River with 3 trophies and 2 program firsts in their wake.
It's really rewarding coming right off the winter training season where the Charles is frozen solid. When you're deep in the winter training, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but these races are really what makes it all worth it.
The team stood on the podium at the Intercollegiate Rowing Association for the last 5 years. This year, they're hoping to add another first to their collection.
The program had a really steep and strong rise and has really stabilized as one of the top programs in the country. I think continuing to be one of the top programs over the next 10 years will really solidify the legacy of the program, and we're looking forward to many more years beyond that.
The Terrier lightweight team is smaller than both the men's and women's open weight programs. This year, they're still trying to find their speed as the newest varsity program on campus.
We've definitely been working to make a name for ourselves, squeezing into the boathouse where it's been occupied for decades before us, but the teams have welcomed us with open arms.
Always fighting for recognition for this team because we're absolutely incredible. We don't necessarily get all of the hype because our season does continue after the academic year ends. We move in silence and we show up in our results.
And that fight for recognition comes from what the team does best, continuously working hard to race into uncharted waters.
We feel incredibly fortunate that there are people from over 50 years ago with Title IX that helped to make it so that we have the opportunities that we have. We don't take those for granted, but then we also set the expectation for our athletes that they are conducting themselves not as I'm just lucky to be here, but as I am going out to win a championship.
While things are winding down across the river, things are only picking up here at the DeWolf Boathouse as the men's rowing and women's open and lightweight teams are preparing for the rest of the rowing season. Now, while the women's lightweight team is headed to Stanford this weekend, they have a lot more to look forward to. They have the Eastern Sprints and eventually the IRAs in late May. Reporting for GMBU, I'm Alexa Podolsky.
Thanks, Alexa. Need something fun to do this weekend? Our arts and entertainment correspondent has a fun festival for you to check out after this break.
It's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce. We all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
It's important to get a flu shot each and every year because flu viruses are constantly changing and immunity from the vaccine decreases over time. Flu vaccines are updated annually to work against that year's viruses. The best time to get your shot is in the fall, but getting it later can still help. Getting a flu shot lowers your risk of getting sick, and if you do happen to get flu, it's likely to be less severe.
Welcome back. Our arts and entertainment correspondent, Samantha Genzer, spoke to organizers of a Japanese festival happening in Boston this weekend. Let's hear what she found out.
The Japan Festival is returning to Boston Common from April 26th to April 27th. Ryo Takasue, the student team leader of the festival, has spent months organizing the event.
There's going to be a lot of performances on the day, a lot of good food. A lot of people have been putting so much work into this. This is all like volunteer based.
Japan Festival Boston is one of the largest cultural festivals in the U.S., with over 90,000 attendees last year.
Without this opportunity, I wouldn't have been able to meet all these people from different universities. It's an amazing experience to get to know a lot of people around.
Sakura Rosenthal, a freshman representative for the Boston University Japanese Student Association, volunteered at one of the festival's many food booths last year.
People aren't necessarily doing it to get paid. They're doing it because they believe in it. It was just such a large group of people who were proud of their Japanese culture, wanted to share that with people, and it was a really fun event for people to come witness.
For any fans of Japanese music, the festival will also feature performances from both traditional and modern artists. Visitors can also sample ramen from Miraku Boston or sushi from Sakabayashi, and shop cosmetics from Taos.
If you're interested in Japanese culture or just experiencing something like a Japanese festival that you'd see in Japan, come to the Boston Commons on a really beautiful weekend and just enjoy the liveliness of it all.
A week from now, Boston Common will be transformed into the Japanese Food and Culture Festival. We hope to see you there. For GMBU, I'm Claire Chen.
Thanks, Claire. And that's going to do it for us as we've reached the final episode of Good Morning BU for the semester. But before we go, we'd like to give some very special shout outs to all of our graduating seniors here. Alexa Podowski is hoping to not lose her sports correspondent title just yet, as she wants to become a sideline reporter.
Romy Tarantino is working at the Copenhagen Post as a news writer.
And Akua Duvall is spending the summer interning at the News Center in Portland, Maine.
Addison Cummings is headed to New York City to keep reporting, producing, and chasing stories at major news media organizations.
Toby Pannone is hoping to stay in Boston or New York, working in TV or film production.
My lovely co-anchor Sophia is planning to become an on-air reporter in the East Coast city. Hopefully she's not too far from Boston so we can tune in and watch her.
And my very uber-talented co-anchor Sydney is pursuing a career in political reporting, working her way up to becoming a White House correspondent one day.
From all of us here on the Good Morning BU team, thank you so much for watching.
For the very last time in Studio West, I'm Sophia Falvo.
And I'm Sydney Toff for the last time. Stay safe and have a great weekend, and good luck with finals, Terriers.
Let's cheer.